You know, the Middle East is going through this incredible multi-trillion-dollar transformation. We're talking about a place where skylines are literally being redrawn and entire industries are popping up overnight. So today, we're giving you a practical guide to not just watch this change from the sidelines, but to actually be a part of it.
So let's just start with the number that's really driving all of this. Over the next 10 years, a staggering $3.5 trillion is going to be spent on these huge national projects across the region. This isn't just another opportunity, it's a fundamental economic shift.
So, the big question is, how do you tap into this modern-day gold rush? Well, we're basically cracking open the playbook from selling in the Middle East, a guide that's just packed with proven, on-the-ground strategies from the top sales pros who are already closing multi-million-dollar deals.
And it's not just us saying this. You've got industry leaders like Zaid Chama over at Google Cloud who see these strategies as the absolute key to success. The insights we're about to cover, they aren't just theory. They're the exact methods the pros are using to win in this market right now.
All right, so to win, you've first got to understand the playing field. Let's kick things off with the economic landscape, the what and the where, so you can pinpoint exactly where all this growth is happening. I mean, the region's combined GDP is already huge, getting close to $3 trillion. But the real story here is this relentless push for economic diversification. These nations are aggressively moving beyond oil, pouring billions into tech, sustainable energy, and tourism, creating brand new markets from scratch.
And this chart, it really nails down where all that momentum is. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are the two biggest players in the game, hands down. Their national projects, like Saudi's Vision 2030, are basically trillion-dollar roadmaps for a future that's being built as we speak.
So how do you take these massive visions and turn them into a real strategy for your business? Well, it all starts with something called TAM, or Total Addressable Market. This is your first critical step to figuring out your potential piece of that $3.5 trillion pie.
Think of it like this simple funnel, right? It's how you keep your strategy grounded in reality. You start big with TAM, the entire potential market. Then you narrow it down to SAM. That's the part you can realistically serve. And finally, you get to SOM, the slice you can actually go out and capture. This is how you set a sales target that's both ambitious and, actually achievable. And here's where the money is really flowing. Just look at the TAM for these key sectors. Technology? We're talking AI, cybersecurity, it's just exploding. Energy is making a hard pivot to renewables, and healthcare and construction are being modernized at an unbelievable speed. These are the spots to watch.
All right, so you've got the market size down. But look, in the Middle East, numbers are really only half the battle. To truly succeed, you have to master the unwritten rules of business, that cultural code that's behind every single deal. And this is probably the single biggest difference for anyone coming from a typical Western business culture. In the West, the contract is king. Here, the relationship is. Trust and personal connection, they aren't just a nice little bonus, they are the absolute foundation that every significant business deal is built on.
So, let's get practical. Here are a few rules of the road. First, hierarchy matters, so always show respect to senior leaders. Be patient. Big decisions here are rarely rushed. Accept hospitality. Believe me, that cup of coffee is about building a relationship, not just getting a caffeine hit. Listen for what's not being said, because communication can be pretty indirect. And of course, always steer clear of sensitive political topics.
And all of this really brings us to the core of everything. We've talked about relationships, and the currency of those relationships is trust. It is the most valuable asset you could possibly build in this market.
So why is trust so important here? What's the big deal? Well, it's because you're operating in one of the most diverse work environments on the entire planet. Just think about that for a second. Over 200 different nationalities, all living and working together. This isn't just one culture, it's a global crossroads. Just take a look at this table. It gives you a tiny snapshot of that incredible diversity. The workforce is this amazing mix of people from all over the world, each with their own unique background and business culture. A one-size-fits-all sales approach? It's just not going to cut it here. You have to adapt. Which brings up the big question, right? How do you actually build that trust? When you're dealing with so many different cultures and ways of thinking, how do you find that common ground and systematically build that essential layer of confidence? Well, let me tell you, it's worth every bit of the effort. Because building trust isn't some feel-good exercise. It has a real, measurable impact on the bottom line. Check this out.
A Harvard Business Review study found that high-trust environments can boost productivity by a staggering 50%. Just imagine what that could do for your business.
And you need to be realistic about this. Building deep trust doesn't happen overnight. This timeline lays it out pretty clearly. Year 1 is all about getting your bearings and learning. Year 2 is when you really start expanding your networks. And it's usually by year 3 that you've built the relationships and the reputation you need for real stability and growth.
Okay, let's pull all of these threads together. We've looked at the economy, we've looked at the culture, and we've talked about the critical role of trust. Now let's put it all into a winning sales strategy that you can actually use. So here it is, your 4-step playbook. Number 1, be reliable. Consistently do what you say you're going to do. It's the fastest way to build credibility. 2, invest the time. It takes multiple visits to build that genuine personal rapport. 3, do your homework. Show you care by really understanding the local history and culture. And 4, think long-term. A sell-and-run approach will absolutely kill your reputation.
And does this playbook actually work? You bet. Listen to what John Banks, a chief growth officer who's been through it all, has to say. He calls these strategies a powerful how-to guide that can literally save you a year of trial and error. Think about what you could do with an extra year.
So let's end with this thought. The future isn't just happening in the Middle East. It's being actively designed and built with trillions of dollars. The only real question left is, are you ready to sell it? By understanding the economy, mastering the culture, and building that lasting trust, you can unlock the massive potential of this incredible region.